Have you ever wondered what separates those who remain vibrant and independent well into their 80s from those who struggle? There's a man I want you to meet. His name is Walter, and at 89 years old, he still tends his own garden, walks to the market each morning, and moves through his days with a quiet grace that draws people to him. His younger brother, just 82, lives in assisted care, dependent on others for nearly everything. Same family, same genes, same childhood, yet their lives in later years couldn't be more different. What Walter understands, and what the Buddha taught thousands of years ago, is this simple truth: how we care for the body is how we honor the gift of life itself. The Buddha said, "To keep the body in good health is a duty, otherwise we shall not be able to keep our minds strong and clear." This isn't about chasing youth or denying the natural rhythm of aging. It's about walking gently with time, about small daily choices that create the conditions for freedom. Today, I want to share with you 8 simple habits that Walter has woven into the fabric of his daily life. These aren't complicated protocols requiring expensive equipment or superhuman willpower. They're quiet practices, rooted in Buddhist wisdom about caring for this temporary vessel we've been given. And the remarkable thing is this: research now confirms what contemplative traditions have known for centuries. These small, consistent acts can add years of vitality to your life. If you're over 60 and wondering whether it's too late to make a difference, let me offer you this. The Dharma teaches that every moment is a new beginning. The breath you take right now is fresh, unhurried by the past. Your body, even with all its accumulated years, still listens, still responds, still holds the capacity to heal and strengthen when tended with care. So stay with me, because what you'll discover isn't just about living longer. It's about living fully, independently, with dignity and presence, all the way to the end. 1. The morning ritual that changes everything. Walter's day begins before the sun fully rises. But he doesn't leap from bed. Instead, he pauses. Still lying down, he takes 3 slow breaths, feeling his chest expand and release. Then, while still beneath the covers, he begins to move. His hands circle at the wrists, his ankles rotate gently. He draws his knees toward his chest, one at a time, feeling the joints awaken. This takes perhaps 5 minutes, nothing strenuous, just gentle motion, like water beginning to flow after a cold night. The Buddha taught about the body as our first foundation of mindfulness. Before we can be present to the world, we must first be present to this physical form that carries us. And Walter's morning movement is exactly that. A meditation in motion, a way of saying to the body, "I see you, I honor you. Let us begin again." Here's what science now tells us about this simple practice. Research shows that gentle stretching first thing in the morning reduces joint stiffness by warming the synovial fluid that lubricates your joints. Studies have found that older adults who perform just 5 minutes of morning stretching experience significant improvements in balance and can reduce their fall risk by nearly 40%. The movements don't need to be complex. Ankle circles, gentle knee bends, shoulder rolls, reaching arms overhead. What matters is consistency and presence. Think of your joints like door hinges. When they sit still too long, they stiffen. But with gentle, regular movement, they maintain their range and fluidity. After a night of sleep, when your body has been still for hours, those first movements tell your muscles and joints, "We're awake now. We're ready." But there's something deeper happening here, something the Buddha understood about the relationship between body and mind. When you begin your day with gentle, mindful movement, you set a tone of care. You remind yourself that aging isn't something happening to you, it's something you're walking through with awareness and kindness. I've met so many people who wake up feeling stiff and interpret that stiffness as proof they're declining. They move less because moving hurts. But that creates a cycle. Less movement leads to more stiffness, which leads to more pain, which leads to even less movement. Walter broke that cycle years ago by simply beginning each day with 5 minutes of gentle presence. This is what Buddhists call working with what is, rather than resisting it. Your body at 70 or 80 isn't the same as it was at 30. That's not failure. That's the truth of impermanence, what the Buddha called anicca. Everything changes. But within that change, there's still capacity, still strength, still possibility. So here's the practice. Tomorrow morning, before you rise, take 3 slow breaths, then begin moving gently while still in bed. Wiggle your toes, circle your ankles, draw your knees in, reach your arms overhead, feel the body waking, and as you do, whisper quietly, "Thank you for carrying me. Thank you for one more day." This isn't exercise. It's gratitude made physical, and it changes everything. 2. The water practice you've been missing. After Walter completes his morning stretches, he does something that might seem almost too simple to matter. He drinks a full glass of water, room temperature, slowly, before coffee, before breakfast, before anything else. For years, doctors have told us to stay hydrated. But here's what most people don't realize. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at signaling thirst. By the time you feel thirsty, you're already mildly dehydrated. And for older adults, even mild dehydration carries consequences far more serious than most imagine. Research from Penn State University found that dehydration in middle-aged and older adults significantly diminishes the ability to sustain attention over time. Another study examining over 2,500 adults over age 60 found that women with inadequate hydration showed notably worse performance on cognitive tasks related to attention and processing speed. The connection is clear. When your brain doesn't have enough water, it struggles to focus, to remember, to function clearly. But it goes deeper than cognition. Dehydration strains your kidneys, which are already working harder as you age due to decreased ability to concentrate urine. Chronic low-level dehydration increases the risk of urinary tract infections, kidney stones, and in severe cases, kidney failure. It affects your blood pressure, your heart function, your body's ability to regulate temperature. The Buddha spoke often about the middle way, about meeting our needs without excess or deprivation. Water is the most basic of those needs. Your body is nearly 60% water. Every cell, every tissue, every organ depends on adequate hydration to function. When Walter drinks that morning glass of water, he's not following a health trend. He's practicing what Buddhists call right care for the body. There's a traditional teaching about the body being like a precious vase. If the vase develops cracks, we must tend to them before they worsen. Dehydration is one of those subtle cracks, easy to overlook, but capable of spreading into something far more serious if ignored. Here's what to remember. Your kidneys need water to filter waste. Your blood needs water to carry oxygen and nutrients. Your brain needs water to maintain the electrical signals between neurons. Even your joints need adequate hydration to produce the synovial fluid that keeps them moving smoothly. Many older adults resist drinking water because they fear frequent trips to the bathroom, especially at night. But dehydration actually makes urinary problems worse, not better. When your urine becomes too concentrated, it irritates the bladder, creating more urgency. Adequate hydration throughout the day, paradoxically, can reduce nighttime disruptions. Walter keeps a glass of water on his bedside table. As soon as he sits up in the morning, he drinks it. Then he refills it, and carries it with him as he moves through his morning routine. He doesn't gulp, he sips steadily. By mid-morning, he's consumed 3 glasses. By afternoon, another 3. By evening, his body has received what it needs. This is mindfulness in its simplest form, paying attention to the body's needs and meeting them with gentle consistency. The Buddha taught that the body is the temple housing our consciousness. We don't need to make it into an idol, but we do need to care for it as we would any sacred vessel. So here's your practice. Place a glass of water beside your bed tonight. Tomorrow morning, before coffee, before tea, before anything else, drink it slowly. Notice the cool liquid moving down your throat. Feel your body receiving what it needs. And, throughout the day, keep water within reach, not as a chore, as an act of kindness toward yourself. 3. The protein practice that preserves independence. When Walter sits down for breakfast, his plate always includes protein. Eggs, usually. Sometimes a piece of fish left from dinner. Occasionally yogurt with nuts. His portions aren't large, but they're consistent, about the size of his palm at each meal. This might seem like basic nutrition advice, but here's what makes it profound for older adults. After age 60, your body becomes increasingly resistant to building and maintaining muscle. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. Essentially, your muscles don't respond as readily to the protein you consume. You need more protein than younger people just to maintain what you have, let alone to build strength. Research published in multiple nutrition journals has found that older adults require approximately 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal to maximally stimulate muscle protein synthesis. That's significantly more than the standard recommendation of 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight that was established based on studies of young adults. Current evidence suggests older adults need between 1 and 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily, distributed across meals. Why does this matter so profoundly? Because muscle loss, what doctors call sarcopenia, is the primary driver of frailty and loss of independence in older adults. When you lose muscle, you lose strength. When you lose strength, daily activities become harder, climbing stairs, carrying groceries, getting up from a chair. Eventually, you lose the ability to live independently. But here's the hopeful truth. This progression isn't inevitable. Studies show that adequate protein intake, even in people in their 70s and 80s, can preserve muscle mass, enhance strength, and maintain functional independence. One recent study found that elderly women consuming 1-2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight daily showed significant reductions in fat mass and notable gains in muscle strength and muscle quality, compared to those consuming the standard lower amount. The Buddha taught about cause and effect, what we call karma, in its most basic sense. Every action creates a result. When you consistently provide your body with adequate protein, you create the conditions for strength. When you neglect this simple practice, you create conditions for weakness and dependence. Think of your muscles as a garden. Without proper nourishment, the plants wither, but tend them carefully, give them what they need, and they continue to grow and flourish even in autumn. Your muscles at 70 or 80 can still grow stronger, not as quickly as at 30, but meaningfully, enough to make the difference between independence and dependence. Walter understands this intuitively. He knows that every meal is an opportunity to nourish strength. So breakfast includes eggs or yogurt, lunch includes chicken or beans, dinner includes fish or lentils. He doesn't obsess. He doesn't count grams precisely, but he makes sure each meal includes a palm-sized portion of protein-rich food. There's a story from the Buddhist tradition about a monk who asked his teacher how to attain enlightenment. The teacher replied, "Have you eaten? Then wash your bowl." The teaching wasn't dismissive. It was pointing to this truth: spiritual practice doesn't happen separate from the body. It happens through caring for the body with presence and wisdom. Adequate protein isn't vanity. It's not about looking young or building muscles for appearance. It's about maintaining the physical capacity to serve others, to care for yourself, to move through the world with dignity. When you have strength, you can help a neighbor. You can play with grandchildren. You can continue offering your presence and your gifts. So here's your practice. At each meal today, include a palm-sized portion of protein: eggs, fish, chicken, tofu, beans, yogurt, nuts. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just needs to be consistent. And as you eat, offer a quiet acknowledgement. This nourishes my strength. This supports my independence. Because the truth is simple. You can't pour from an empty cup, and your body is the cup that allows you to keep showing up for life. 4. The balance practice that prevents falls. Every afternoon, while waiting for his tea water to boil, Walter stands on one foot, just 30 seconds, then switches to the other foot for another 30 seconds. Sometimes he holds the counter for support. Other times, he stands freely. This tiny practice, barely 1 minute total, has become as automatic as brushing his teeth. Here's what Walter knows, and what research confirms. Falls aren't random accidents. They're predictable events that occur when balance degrades below a certain threshold. And balance, like muscle strength, declines with age unless actively maintained. Studies examining fall prevention have found that daily balance exercises can reduce fall risk by approximately 50%. Even simple practices like standing on one foot for 30 seconds per side, performed consistently, significantly improve postural stability and proprioception. The key is regular practice, not intensity. But in our culture, we tend to think of balance as something you either have or don't have. That's not true. Balance is a skill that involves multiple systems: your inner ear, your vision, your muscle strength, your brain's ability to integrate signals and coordinate responses. All of these systems can be trained and maintained at any age. The Buddha taught about the middle way, about finding balance between extremes, but he also understood balance in the most literal sense. The ability to stand steady, to walk without falling, to move through the world with stability. This physical balance mirrors the inner balance we cultivate through practice. There's a reason Buddhist meditation often begins with attention to posture: sitting upright, spine straight, head balanced on top of the spine. This isn't just tradition. It's training the body to find its center, to recognize when it's off balance, to make tiny adjustments that maintain equilibrium. The same awareness that helps you sit steadily in meditation helps you walk steadily through your kitchen. I've heard so many older adults say, "I'm afraid of falling." That fear is understandable. A fall can mean broken bones, hospitalization, loss of confidence, the beginning of a downward spiral. But here's what the Dharma teaches: fear without action creates suffering. Fear, combined with wise response, creates safety. Walter doesn't practice balance out of fear. He practices out of care. Each time he stands on one foot, he's gathering information. He notices which foot feels stronger. He feels where his weight shifts. He senses the tiny corrections his ankle makes to keep him upright. This is mindfulness. This is being present to the body's actual experience, rather than the stories we tell ourselves about aging. Research on fall prevention emphasizes that balance training works best when it challenges your current capacity slightly. If standing on one foot feels too difficult, You can start by standing with feet together, then progress to standing with one foot slightly in front of the other, then eventually to standing on one foot while touching a counter for support. The improvement happens gradually, but it happens. Your nervous system adapts. Your muscles strengthen in the precise ways needed for stability. Your brain creates new neural pathways for coordinating movement. At any age, your body can learn. There's a traditional Buddhist practice called walking meditation. You move slowly, deliberately, feeling each foot lift, move forward, and place down. It's meant to develop presence and awareness, but it also develops balance. Every mindful step is practice. Walter walks this way naturally now, not in formal meditation, just moving through his day with attention. He feels his feet on the ground. He notices his weight shifting. When he climbs stairs, he's fully present to each step. This isn't paranoia, it's wisdom. So here's your practice. Right now, stand up. Place your feet hip-width apart. Feel your weight distributed evenly. Now lift one foot slightly off the ground, even just an inch. Hold for 10 seconds if you can, less if you can't. Put it down. Try the other foot. That's it. That's the beginning. Tomorrow, do it again. Perhaps while your coffee brews or while you brush your teeth. Make it part of your routine. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just present, just caring for the body's need for balance. Because the Buddha was clear, the middle way isn't passive, it's active engagement with life, meeting each moment with presence and wise response. Your balance is worth protecting, and protection comes through practice, one steady breath at a time. 5. The conversation that keeps you alive. Each morning after breakfast, Walter calls his daughter. Not for long, maybe 10 minutes. They talk about simple things, the weather, her children, a book she's reading, the birds he saw in the garden. These calls aren't emergencies, they're connection. 3 times a week, Walter volunteers at the community library, shelving books and chatting with visitors. On Sundays, he attends a small meditation group at the neighborhood center. These aren't grand social events. They're quiet moments of genuine human contact. What Walter understands, and what research now confirms with stunning clarity, is this. Loneliness and social isolation harm the body as severely as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The Buddha taught about Sangha, spiritual community, as one of the 3 jewels of practice. He understood that humans are fundamentally relational beings. We don't just prefer connection, we need it to survive and thrive. Multiple large-scale studies have found that social isolation and loneliness independently increase the risk of cardiovascular disease, stroke, cognitive decline, and mortality in older adults. One comprehensive analysis of nearly 12,000 community-dwelling Australians over age 70 found that social isolation and low social support significantly predicted cardiovascular events, even after adjusting for traditional risk factors like blood pressure and cholesterol. The effects are not subtle. Research shows that older adults without strong social connections have approximately 50% greater odds of mortality over a 7-year period compared to those with robust social ties. The impact rivals major physical risk factors like obesity and exceeds the risk of physical inactivity. But here's what makes this particularly relevant for Buddhist practice. The protection doesn't come from having hundreds of acquaintances. It comes from meaningful connection, one genuine conversation with someone who knows you, who listens, who cares. That's what matters. The Buddha spoke about right speech, about communication that brings people together rather than driving them apart. But implicit in that teaching is the recognition that speech itself, conversation itself, is a fundamental human need. When we stop talking with others, when we withdraw into isolation, we violate something essential about our nature. I've noticed something in my own life and in the lives of elders I've known. It's easy to let social connections slip away. Friends move, family members get busy. You think, I don't want to be a burden, or they have their own lives. And gradually, days pass without meaningful conversation, then weeks, then months. Walter refuses that slide. His daily call to his daughter isn't about needing her. It's about maintaining the thread of connection. His volunteer hours at the library aren't about filling empty time. They're about remaining part of a community, about contributing, about receiving the gift of casual human contact. There's a traditional Buddhist practice of generating metta, loving kindness, by bringing to mind people we care about and silently wishing them well. But the practice doesn't stop at silent wishing. It extends into action, into actual relationship, into showing up for people and allowing them to show up for us. Research on social connection and health has found that the protective effect works through multiple mechanisms. Social interaction reduces chronic stress, which in turn lowers inflammation and supports immune function. It provides practical support when challenges arise. It creates accountability for healthy behaviors. It gives life meaning and purpose. All of these pathways contribute to better health outcomes. But there's something else, something harder to measure but perhaps more important. When you talk with someone who cares, when you laugh together, when you share a moment of understanding, something inside you relaxes. The tight grip of isolation loosens. You remember that you belong to the human family. The Buddha's final words to his disciples were, "Decay is inherent in all compounded things. Work out your liberation with diligence." But he didn't say, work it out alone. The entire teaching assumes community, assumes that we walk this path together, supporting one another. So, here's your practice. Today, have one genuine conversation. Call someone you care about, not to report news or handle business, just to connect. Ask how they are. Listen to their answer. Share something from your own heart. If you don't have someone to call, go somewhere people gather. The library, a senior center, a park. Strike up a conversation with someone. Even 5 minutes of real human contact matters. And if you're someone who has plenty of social contact, consider this. Is there an older person in your life who might be isolated? Your neighbor, a relative, someone you used to know. Could you be the one who makes that call? Who extends that invitation? Because the Dharma isn't just about your own liberation, it's about the liberation of all beings. And sometimes the most compassionate act is simply showing up, being present, offering the gift of your attention and care. 6. The sunlight practice that restores vitality. Every morning, weather permitting, Walter sits on his small back porch for 15 minutes. Not sunbathing, just sitting where the early light can touch his face and arms. He drinks his tea. He watches the birds. He breathes. For decades, we've been told to avoid sun exposure entirely. And yes, excessive sun exposure damages skin and increases cancer risk. But recent research reveals something crucial. Complete sun avoidance may be just as harmful. The pendulum swung too far, and older adults in particular are now suffering from widespread vitamin D deficiency and its consequences. Moderate sun exposure, about 15 to 20 minutes of gentle morning or late afternoon sunlight on the face and arms, provides multiple benefits. It triggers vitamin D synthesis in the skin. It regulates circadian rhythms, improving sleep quality. It supports mood through multiple biological pathways. Studies have found that appropriate sun exposure supports immune function, reduces inflammation, and may even help maintain bone density. The key word is gentle. Walter doesn't sit in harsh midday sun. He doesn't sunburn. He simply allows his body to receive what it evolved to need: regular, moderate exposure to natural light. The Buddha often taught outdoors, in gardens and groves. His disciples sat under trees. The tradition of walking meditation happens in open air. This wasn't accidental. The natural world, including sunlight, is part of the context for human flourishing. There's a teaching about the sun and the lotus flower. The lotus grows in muddy water, but it rises toward the light. When the sun appears, the lotus opens. Without sunlight, it remains closed. Our bodies are similar. We need light to fully open, to function optimally. Modern life has divorced many of us from natural light rhythms. We wake to alarm clocks in dark bedrooms. We spend days under artificial lighting. We return home after dark. This disrupts the ancient biological systems that regulate sleep, energy, mood, and health. Walter's morning porch ritual is his way of resetting those rhythms. The morning light signals his brain, it's day, time to be alert. That signal helps him sleep better at night. The vitamin D synthesis supports his immune system, his bone health, his mood. The simple act of being outdoors, even briefly, connects him to something larger than his four walls. I've heard people say, "I can't sit outside. I don't have a porch." But a sunny window works. A brief walk around the block works. Even standing by an open door with sunlight streaming in counts. What matters is regularity and presence. There's also something about being outdoors that invites mindfulness naturally. The feeling of air on your skin, the sounds of birds or wind, the play of light and shadow. These sensory experiences draw you into the present moment without effort. So here's your practice. Tomorrow morning, find 15 minutes of gentle sunlight. Not through glass, which blocks the beneficial wavelengths. Actual outdoor or open window exposure. Sit if you can. Stand if you prefer. Close your eyes and feel the warmth. Breathe. Notice the aliveness of the world around you. This isn't about tanning or vitamin supplements. It's about receiving what nature freely offers. It's about honoring the body's ancient need for light and air. And it's about pausing in your day to simply be present, outdoors, breathing, alive. 7. The mental practice that protects your mind. After lunch each day, Walter spends 20 minutes with a book. Not skimming, reading with full attention. Sometimes it's fiction, sometimes history, sometimes Buddhist teachings. What matters isn't the subject, it's the engagement. 3 times a week, he works on crossword puzzles. Not to exercise his brain in some abstract way, but because he enjoys them. The challenge engages him. He likes the satisfaction of finding the right word. Research on cognitive aging is clear. Mental stimulation matters. Not busy work or mindless activity, but genuine cognitive challenge. Learning new information, solving problems, engaging with complex ideas. These activities build what neuroscientists call cognitive reserve, the brain's resilience against age-related decline. Studies have found that older adults who regularly engage in mentally stimulating activities show significantly slower rates of cognitive decline and reduced risk of dementia. The activities don't need to be exotic. Reading, puzzles, learning a musical instrument, taking a class, engaging in meaningful conversation. What matters is that they challenge you slightly, requiring focus and thought. The Buddha spoke often about cultivating the mind, not just in meditation, but through study of the teachings, through contemplation, through discussion with others. The mind, like the body, needs nourishment and exercise to remain strong. But there's something important here that goes beyond just preventing decline. When you engage your mind in something meaningful, you remain present to life. You don't slip into that passive state where days blur together, where nothing stands out, where you're simply waiting for time to pass. Walter reads because he's curious. He does puzzles because he finds them satisfying. The cognitive benefit is a side effect of genuine engagement. And that's the key. Find what actually interests you. Not what you think you should do, but what draws your attention naturally. I've met older adults who force themselves through brain games they find tedious, thinking they're protecting themselves from dementia. But joyless obligation isn't the path. The Buddha taught about right effort, about bringing energy to practice in a way that's sustainable and life-giving, not depleting. Think about what you loved learning about when you were younger. What topics still spark curiosity? What questions still intrigue you? That's where to begin. Follow your natural interest, and the mental stimulation comes naturally. There's also something profound about maintaining a learning mindset as you age. It keeps you humble. It keeps you open. It reminds you that there's always more to discover, more to understand. This is beginner's mind, the Zen concept of approaching each moment with fresh eyes. So, here's your practice. Choose one mentally engaging activity and do it daily for 20 minutes. Read a challenging book. Learn a new skill. Take an online course. Do puzzles. Learn a language. Study something that interests you. The specific activity matters less than the consistency and genuine engagement. And as you engage, notice the quality of your attention. Are you present? Are you interested? Or are you going through motions? The Buddha taught that quality of mind matters as much as the activity itself. Bring your full presence to whatever you choose. Because here's the truth. Your mind, like your body, remains capable of growth at any age. New neural connections can form. New patterns can emerge. The brain's plasticity doesn't disappear at 60 or 70 or 80. It simply requires intentional engagement to activate. 8. The purpose that extends your life. Walter rises each morning with clarity about why. On Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, he volunteers at the library. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, he works in his garden. On weekends, he calls friends and family, tends his home, attends his meditation group. These aren't obligations weighing him down. They're the threads that weave meaning into his days. Research on aging and longevity has uncovered something remarkable. People with a clear sense of purpose live approximately 15% longer than those without. The effect persists even after controlling for other health factors. Purpose isn't just psychological comfort, it's a physiological protective factor. Studies have found that older adults with strong sense of purpose show better physical function, slower cognitive decline, reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, and lower mortality rates across multiple populations and cultures. The protection appears to work through multiple pathways: reduced inflammation, better stress resilience, healthier behaviors, and stronger social connections. But what is purpose exactly? It's not necessarily grand ambition or world-changing achievement. For most people, purpose is simpler and more immediate: contributing something meaningful, caring for someone or something beyond yourself, having a reason to get up in the morning. The Buddha taught about right livelihood, about engaging in work that doesn't harm and ideally benefits others. But that teaching extends beyond paid employment. In later life, purpose might be volunteering, mentoring, helping neighbors, tending a garden, creating something beautiful. What matters is the sense that what you do makes a difference. Walter's library work isn't glamorous. He shelves books. He helps people find what they're looking for. He straightens chairs. But he knows that libraries matter, that he's contributing to something valuable, that his presence helps the place function. That knowledge fills his days with meaning. His garden isn't just a hobby. He grows vegetables and shares them with neighbors. He plants flowers that feed pollinators. He maintains a small patch of beauty in the world. These actions may seem small, but they're threaded with purpose. There's a Buddhist practice of dedicating merit, of consciously offering the fruits of your practice for the benefit of all beings. Walter does this informally with everything he does. His volunteer hours, his garden, his phone calls to friends, all of it becomes an offering. I've noticed that people who lose purpose often deteriorate rapidly, not because they lack healthcare or resources, but because they no longer have a compelling reason to keep showing up. The days feel empty. Time becomes something to endure rather than engage. But purpose doesn't require physical vigor or perfect health. I've known people with significant physical limitations who maintained powerful sense of purpose through prayer, through listening to others, through sharing their stories, through creating art, through simply being a loving presence in others' lives. The question isn't, can I still do everything I used to do? The question is, what can I contribute right now, with what I have, from where I am? Walter understands this deeply. He knows his physical capacity has changed, but his capacity to care, to show up, to contribute, remains. That's what he gives. And in giving, he receives the gift of meaningful days. So here's your practice, and it's perhaps the most important one. Identify your purpose. What gets you out of bed? What would you miss if you could no longer do it? If you can't answer clearly, explore, try things, volunteer somewhere, learn a new skill, help someone. Notice what brings aliveness. And if you once had purpose but lost it through retirement or circumstance, know this: new purpose can emerge at any age. The Dharma teaches that nothing is fixed, that every moment offers opportunity for new beginning. Your purpose doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to be genuine. It needs to connect you to something beyond yourself. And it needs to give your days structure and meaning. Because here's what Walter knows, and what the Buddha taught. We're not here just to survive. We're here to engage fully with this precious, fleeting human life. Purpose is what allows that engagement to continue, even as the body slows, even as the world changes, even as we approach the final chapter, bringing it all together. Let's pause and take stock. We've walked through 8 practices: morning movement, morning hydration, adequate protein, daily balance work, meaningful connection, gentle sun exposure, mental engagement, and clear purpose. None requires money. None requires special equipment. None demands superhuman will. What they require is something simpler and more profound: presence, consistency, care. The Buddha taught that liberation comes through the accumulation of small, wise actions, repeated over time. Not dramatic breakthroughs, not sudden transformations, just showing up, day after day, with attention and kindness. Walter's life at 89 isn't magical. He has aches. He moves more slowly than he once did. His hearing isn't perfect. His memory sometimes slips. But he remains independent, engaged, vital, not by denying aging's reality, but by working skillfully with it. These 8 habits create a foundation. They're not guarantees. No practice can promise immortality or prevent all illness. The Buddha was clear about this. The body will age, sicken, and die. That's the truth of impermanence. But how we move through that process, how we care for the body and mind during the years we have, That's within our control. That's where freedom lives. Think of these practices as offerings you make to yourself each day. The morning stretch, an offering of movement. The water, an offering of hydration. The protein, an offering of strength. The balance work, an offering of stability. The connection, an offering of belonging. The sunlight, an offering of nature. The mental engagement, an offering of presence. The purpose, an offering of meaning. Together, they weave a life that remains full, even as it naturally changes. They create conditions for health, independence, and dignity. I want you to notice something important. These practices aren't about fighting aging. They're about aging well, about moving with the current rather than against it, about accepting what cannot be changed while taking responsibility for what can. The Dharma doesn't promise us control over outcomes. It promises us that our actions matter, that wise choices create beneficial results, that we're not helpless in the face of time. Walter will eventually die. We all will. But he's living fully until then. He's maintaining the capacity to care for himself, to contribute, to experience joy. That's not small. That's everything. So here's my invitation to you. Don't try to adopt all 8 practices tomorrow. That's overwhelming. That's setting yourself up for failure. Instead, choose one. Just one. The one that speaks to you most clearly. Maybe it's the morning stretch. Maybe it's drinking water first thing. Maybe it's calling someone today who you haven't spoken to in too long. Whatever it is, begin there. Do it tomorrow, then the next day, then the day after that. Let it become natural, part of your routine. Then, when it feels established, add another practice. Build gradually, gently, with patience. The Buddha spoke about the path as something walked one step at a time. You don't need to arrive anywhere. You just need to keep walking with presence and care. And know this: it's never too late. Your body, even now, responds to care. Your mind, even now, can learn and grow. Your life, even now, can be filled with purpose and meaning. I've seen people make these changes at 75, at 82, at 90. I've watched them regain strength they thought was permanently lost. I've witnessed them step back from the edge of dependence and reclaim years of vitality. Not through miracles, through small, consistent, caring actions. The Dharma teaches that every moment is a new beginning. The breath you take right now is fresh, unencumbered by past, open to possibility. So breathe. Feel your body sitting or standing. Notice that you're still here, still alive, still capable of choice. And then choose. Choose one practice. Choose to begin. Because Walter's secret isn't complicated. It's not hidden wisdom reserved for the few. It's available to anyone willing to show up for themselves with kindness and consistency. You don't need to become someone different. You just need to care for who you already are. The Buddha's final teaching was this: all compounded things decay. Strive with diligence. He wasn't being grim, he was being honest. And in that honesty lies freedom. Yes, the body will age. Yes, time passes. But within that truth, there's still capacity for strength, for joy, for meaningful days. Walter knows this. And now you do too. So tomorrow morning, when you first open your eyes, remember, you're not just waking to another day. You're waking to another opportunity, another chance to tend this precious life you've been given. Begin with 5 minutes of gentle movement. Drink a glass of water. Include protein at breakfast. Stand on one foot while your tea brews. Call someone you care about. Sit in morning sunlight for 15 minutes. Read something engaging. Connect to your purpose. Not all at once. just one step, then another, then another. That's how paths are walked. That's how lives are transformed. That's how wisdom meets the world, through simple, caring action. And if you're wondering whether it's worth it, whether small changes can really matter, remember Walter. Remember his brother, just 7 years younger, unable to care for himself. The difference wasn't luck. It was daily choices, made with awareness and care over many years. You have that same choice available right now. Not someday. Today. So what will it be? Which practice calls to you? Listen. Choose. Begin. The path is waiting. Your life is waiting. And the Dharma promises this. When you care for yourself wisely, when you show up with presence and kindness, the benefits naturally follow. Not because you earned them, but because that's how this body-mind works. That's how life responds to care. May you walk this path with steadiness. May you age with grace and wisdom. May you discover that even in the autumn years, life can bloom with unexpected beauty. And may you know deeply that you're not alone on this journey. Millions of us are walking this same path, learning these same lessons, discovering that aging isn't the enemy. It's the teacher, the invitation, the opportunity to live with increasing wisdom, increasing kindness, increasing presence, all the way home.